You know who didn't have a good time at the Mardi Gras? A little band known as CCR. But it did give them their final top 40 hit. Hey, and welcome to Acting is Reacting with me, JSB. And it's time to look again through a notable artist's US top 40 history and hear how it all ended. So today we are with Creedence Clearwater Revival, as voted for by you in a recent poll, where I put up 4 choices of artists whose last hit happened to reach number 25, because I'm continuing my look at songs that fit that theme right throughout 2025, which is the year we're in, I promise. If you didn't vote, or even know that there was a poll to vote in, make sure to subscribe to have a better chance of YouTube telling you when polls are up, or you can just check out the community page from time to time. Either way, make sure that your voice gets heard. So, as I hinted at in the intro, here we have an all-time great band, ending on an album widely regarded as one of the worst of all time, 1972's Mardi Gras. I won't go into the story behind it, as we'd be here all day, but there are good reasons it turned out, what I can only describe politely as pretty wretched. However, there is at least one gem on this album, and we'll be hearing it shortly. But before I reveal all, let's jump into our usual singles chart history pricing. So here are your CCR chart facts. Okay, so singles or albums act? They were both. Quite a lot of bands tended to be in those days. Their total US top 40 hits, and indeed their total US top 10 hits, I've gone with It's Complicated, because there are lots of double A sides and all kinds of craziness. It makes adding things up on my fingers difficult. So I've decided I'm going to skip that bit. Notable, of course, that there were 0 number 1 singles for CCR. They had a slew of number 2s, but never quite made it to the top. Oddly enough, in the UK, where they weren't anything like as successful, they did manage a number 1 with Bad Moon Rising. Now, their first US top 40 hit was Susie Q, which hit number 11 in 1968. As for my favourite and least favourites, well, my least favourite is pretty easy, actually. It's the one before the one we're about to hear, which is Sweet Hitchhiker. My favourite could be one of any of the rest, really. I'm going to say Long as I Can See the Light, but so many it could have been. Anyway, as for their final top 40 hit, John Fogerty had this to say about it in a 2013 interview. When I wrote the song, my life was pretty chaotic. I knew my marriage was going to break up, my band was falling apart. The song was inspired by my parents' divorce when I was a young boy and the effect it had on me. At the time, they told me, "Someday you'll understand." The truth of this is that you never do, and I found myself facing that as a parent. The irony was painful and inescapable. Okay, so I'm sure by now you've worked out which song we're talking about, but let's go and give it a fresh listen now. It is, of course, Someday Never Comes. I shall try not to sing along too much, or indeed at all, but no promises.
First thing I remember was asking Papa why. Oh, there were many things I didn't know. And Daddy always smiled, took me by the hand, saying someday you'll understand. Well, I'm here to tell you now that you're never mother's son. You better learn it fast, you better learn it young, 'cause someday it never comes. The time and tears went by, and I collected dust, for there were many things I didn't know. When Daddy went away, he said, try to be a man, and someday you'll understand. Well, I'm here to tell you now that you're never mother's son. You better learn it fast, you better learn it young, 'cause someday it never comes. And then one day in April, I wasn't even there. Oh, there were many things I didn't know. A son was born to me. Mama held his hand, saying someday you'll understand. Well, I'm here to
Yes, I remember my father trying to explain to me why he was having to leave the family home. Uh, it was because of his foibles, of course. Um, yeah, some days never come for understanding that entirely. There you go. John knew. All right, that was, of course, CCR with Someday Never Comes, and it's a great song on a not great album. Do you think it seems better because so much of what surrounds it is basically terrible? Actually, I don't think so. I think it stands up pretty well against the earlier classic stuff as well. And though their songwriting elsewhere on the album might have been dreadful, Doug Clifford and Stu Cook on bass and drums still providing the steady rhythm section that they always had been to this point. But yeah, the less said about their actual writing and lead vocal efforts, the better. Ugh. So, yet again, my usual question at this point is why did it end here? And that's pretty obvious. They had basically fallen apart during the making of the Mardi Gras album. And to be fair, it had been heading that way for a while. Tom was already out of the band, of course, at this point. Now, 4 years later, they did actually manage to almost add one more single to the top 40 tally when the Chronicle Best Of came out and a heavily edited version of their long 11-minute jam of I Heard It Through the Grapevine was culled as a single and managed to get to number 43. And then, of course, John notched up a few solo hits as well over the years, although probably not as many as he might have been expected to, given the enormous run that CCR had had in the space of a few very short years, let's remember. Anyway, that might be a story for another day. So do tell me what you think of the song and where it sits among your personal favourites from CCR, and if you think that Mardi Gras is actually not as bad as everybody else, including me, says, and if there's other tracks there worth salvaging. Or if you disagree that it's best left to rot. Let me know either way. That's what comment sections are for. Meantime, YouTube has some neat suggestions of what else to watch from the sky, so I will simply say thanks for watching today and bye for now, but not for long.
Acting is reacting. This does not mean acting again.